All right, so this is my starting power forward rankings for the 2023-2024 NBA season. If you have not watched my point guard and shooting guard and small forward videos, make sure you go do that too. Let's get started. At number 31, so I do have 31 here because Miles Bridges is suspended for the first 10 games of the season. I believe they have PJ Washington starting in his place. And I'm not exactly sure which one of those guys is going to be starting when he gets back. So I just included both of them in these rankings. Oh shoot, sorry. Number 30, I got to talk about PJ Tucker. So yeah, PJ Tucker at 31. He's kind of a bum. I mean, he's a solid role player. He's a decent role player. He's just not a good, definitely not the Houston Rockets PJ Tucker anymore. Okay, he's not very efficient shooter anymore. He's old. He doesn't get a lot of as much rebounds and stuff. He's worse at defense because he's older and slower. He's still a decent guy to have on your roster, but not a good starter for sure. Now I do think he probably will not be starting because he did get traded in the James Harden trade to the Los Angeles Clippers. But I did make this rankings before the James Harden trade, so at the time of me making my rankings, he was the Sixers starting power forward, but now he is likely coming off the bench in Los Angeles. But yeah, number 30, we got Grant Williams for the Dallas Mavericks. He's a good player, nothing great. He's solid, definitely better than PJ Tucker. He is more efficient than PJ Tucker for sure, but he's nothing special as a starter. He's a good role player, but nothing special as a starter. Number 29, we got Jared Vanderbilt. He's pretty solid on the defensive end. His offense, definitely questionable. It's not great, but his defense is pretty good. He did pretty solid in the playoffs last year on the defensive end. He needs to take a step on offense, but he's good defense, and that's really all he needs to do in his role. As long as he can get a solid 3-point jump shot down, then he'll be really good for this Lakers team. Number 28 is Isaiah Stewart. He's a solid forward. The Pistons have a lot of forwards and bigs on their roster. So like Isaiah Stewart is a starter right now, but he might not be the starter going forward because they have so many guys on their team. So they could just be trying out a whole bunch of different lineups. I guess right now he's the best power forward on the team, but not by much. They got guys like Marvin Bagley they could put in there. They got plenty big on their team, so interesting to see if he'll start the whole season. But he's a solid player, even if he's off the bench. Number 27, I do have PJ Washington, who is on this list because Miles Bridges is out for the first 10 games. So I'm not, wasn't sure who's going to be starting when he comes back. So yeah, I got PJ Washington at 27. He's a solid player, nothing too special, nothing great. His offense is decent. That's all I really got to say about that. I think they should be starting Miles Bridges when he comes back, but we'll see. Number 26, you got Obi Toppin. I think he'll be better in the Pacers than he was in New York, mostly because of having a guy like Tyrese Halliburton on his team who is able to throw him some lobs and stuff. That's what I think is going to happen a lot because Obi Toppin is obviously he's very athletic. So I think he'll be cut into the basket a lot and getting some nice dishes in there from Tyrese Halliburton. And he has guys like Buddy Hield to, open up the floor for him to be able to make some cuts like that, and having Miles Turner over a guy like Mitchell Robinson on the Knicks. So he has a center that can stretch the floor just to give him, more open lanes to cut to the rim. Number 25, I got Sadiq Bey for the Atlanta Hawks. He's a really good offensive player. I think he'll average 15 plus points per game for this Hawks team. I think he's a really solid player, good shooter. His defense isn't great, but his offense is really solid. He's a good player. Number 24, I do have Miles Bridges. I think he's better than PJ Washington. I think I think he hasn't played at all. He didn't play last season at all because he had his domestic violence charges or something. So they were just, did not want to get involved in anything. So he was just not on a roster. I still think he's a really good player. I don't think he'll have the best. I don't think he'll have the same season as he did 2 years ago when he played last because he took a year off. So likely you would have a little bit of a regression. But I still think he'll have a really pretty solid season. At number 23, I have Jabari Smith. I mean, he's young, so I think he'll be improving over his recent years. He was not very efficient last year at all, but he's still a pretty solid player. Expect him to be more efficient this season. Maybe average, 15 plus points per game at least. I don't know if he's going to get a lot more than that because they got guys like Singu and Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet, who I think will all get 20 plus points per game. So I'm not sure if Jabari Smith is going to be able to get his 20 plus, but I do think he has the potential to average 20 plus points per game someday. At number 22, we got Patrick Williams. I think he's a really good player for the Chicago Bulls team. I think he could potentially average close to 20 points per game. Probably won't hit that this season, but I think will definitely be at about 18 points per game. He's good on offense. Good shooter. He's very good on defense. That's where he stands out, but he's definitely not a bad player on the offensive end either. Okay, number 21 is John Collins. I like him in Utah. I liked him in Atlanta, but they had some issues going on there. And I think he will have a bigger role in Utah. Um, on the offensive end, the Utah Jazz, they got a lot of people who shoot the ball, but that just works because Utah Jazz, their offense is really good. I think he'll have more opportunity um, in Utah than he did in Atlanta because, um, mostly because he is, I don't really know. I don't really know actually. I think it's just because it's a fresh start and maybe we'll have more opportunity. I don't really know. I don't really know why I think he'll do better. I just think he will. Number 28, we got Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray's a good player. He did really solid in the playoffs last year too. You know, average. I think we'll average about 15 plus points per game this year at least. Maybe like 17. Very efficient. He's a good shooter, good scorer. Yeah, I like to see some improvement on the defensive side from him because he was not great from that at all last season. But he was, I believe, just a rookie, so like he should have progression. Number 19, we got Cam Johnson. I thought he did really good last year when he did get traded to the Brooklyn Nets. I think he can average 20 plus points per game for this Brooklyn Nets team as well, like Mikal Bridges. But I think he'll have an efficient 20 plus points per game this season out of Cam Johnson. At number 18, we do got Kyle Kuzma, who's going to be shooting 20 to 25 plus shots per game, kind of like Jordan Poole. I think Jordan Poole will average a little bit more points than Kyle Kuzma, but Kuzma will definitely be more efficient than Jordan Poole. I think he'll average close to 25 plus points per game as well. Um, so yeah, he'll get a lot of shots, and he makes his shots more than Jordan Poole does. So yeah. Number 17, we got Jalen Williams. So he had a really good rookie season for the Thunder last year. So I expect him to just build off of that, and continue to progress and have an even better season this year. At number 16, we got Andrew Wiggins. So, I mean, he's a really good player, I think, but I think he'll have a worse season this year than last season, mostly because of Chris Paul on this team. Because a lot of times when Stephen Curry not in the game, Andrew Wiggins is getting a lot of looks because he's probably one of the better shot creators on the team when Curry's not in the game. But now having Chris Paul being the ball dominant guard when Curry's not in the game, it's going to hurt Andrew Wiggins' production. Number 15, we got Jeremy Grant. He's a good player. Good offensive player, good defensive player. Just don't really like him for this Blazers team the way it is constructed. Because I don't think Jeremy Grant is going to get a whole lot of shots because I think they're going to work on the younger guards getting a lot of shots up. But, I think he has potential to be traded by the trade deadline, which, I would like to see. Even though they just signed him to a big extension, I would still like to see him get moved to a new team where they can utilize him um, in a better role for him. At number 14, he had the Denver Nuggets with Aaron Gordon. He's a really solid player. He did really good in the postseason last year. Obviously, was a key part of their championship run, and he will have to do that again this season to a better level because they're losing guys like Jeff Green and Bruce Brown who were a really key part of their postseason run. So I think Aaron Gordon and guys alike will have to step up again this year. At number 13 is where I'm going to place Victor Wembanyama. I think will have a really good season. I think he'll definitely have a worse season than some are expecting. Definitely a less efficient season than some are expecting. But I still think he'll have a pretty good year this year. Just nothing. I don't think he'll have anything too crazy. His steal and block numbers will probably be very impressive, but his offensive numbers and rebounding numbers and stuff will probably be subpar for expectations, but still really solid for a rookie. It's just so very high expectations. So you'll see him average like 18 and 7 and 3 assists on like 45 and 33% shooting, and you're going to be like, well, that's just like okay, you won't be excited about that. But I think he'll definitely develop. Number 12, we got Julius Randle. I think he will be better than Victor Wembanyama this season because Randle can average 25 plus points per game easily this season. He might be an all-star again this season. He just has a lot more experience than Wembanyama. I think he'll have a better year than Wembanyama because of that. He's a really good player. Sometimes, not the most efficient player, but he's still a really solid player. Yeah. Number 11, we do got Evan Mobley, so I think he'll take a big step this season offensively. We already knew his defensive impact was really good last year. He had a good amount of rebounds last year. I think he averaged about 16 points a game last year. I think he might not average 20 points per game this year, but I think he will average maybe like 18 to 19 on a more efficient splits than last season. I think he will start to shoot a couple more threes this season. Maybe shoot like 33% on threes on just like 2 to 3 attempts per game, which is an improvement over last season. So yeah. Number 10, we got Paolo Banchero. He's a really good player. He had a really good rookie season. I don't think he averaged 20 points per game his rookie year, but I do expect him to average 20 plus this season. He did play really good in FIBA ball as well, which is obviously good for. It's definitely a good experience for him, and I think that will help his development as well. Number 9, I got Zion Williamson. I would probably put him a little bit higher if I knew he could play, like 60 plus games. I don't think Zion's going to play 60 plus. I would cap it at 50. I think the over under for Zion's games are going to be like I would set 49.5 over under, and I'm probably taking the under. Just because I don't trust his health, but when he does play, he's a really solid player. I just don't think he's going to be playing, barely over half the season again. Just sad, but true. At number 8, we got Pascal Siakam. So, Zion's probably better than Pascal Siakam when he plays, but I'd rather take Siakam usually plays a lot of games. I'd rather take 70 games of Siakam than 50 games of Zion. So Siakam is, better defensively than Zion, and almost just as good offensively as Zion. It's definitely a better three-point shooter than Zion. At number 7, we got Jaren Jackson Jr. He's a good player, very good defender. I think we'll have a really good season offensively this year because John Morant is missing 25 games, so Jaren Jackson should get more looks in those games. And, he was best defender in the league last year, right? One defensive player of the year. I don't see any reason why he couldn't repeat that this season. I think Evan Mobley will challenge him this year, but I think he'll definitely be averaging close to 3 blocks a game again, like he did last year. Number 6, we got Karl-Anthony Towns. So he's a really good player, really good scorer. He didn't play a lot of games last year. I think he played like 29 games, but I think he'll have a more healthy season this year. Um, and I think he'll have a really good year this year. Yeah. Number 5, we got Kawhi Leonard. It's weird to see Kawhi Leonard and Karl-Anthony Towns being listed as the same position because Kawhi feels like a small forward and Cat feels like a center, but they are both currently on the depth chart as a starting power forward. So, that's what we got in here. I think Kawhi definitely one of the better two-way players in the league. I think he'll play. I do think he will play like 60 games this season, which is, just a crazy amount, but it's more than what Kawhi usually plays. So if he can play to 60 plus games and be healthy for the playoff run, this Clippers team can be really dangerous. But I really hope he can play more. I have more faith in Kawhi playing 50. I have more faith in Kawhi playing 60 games than I do in Zion playing 50 games. So there's that. At number 4, we do have Jimmy Butler. I have him over Kawhi, partially because of Kawhi's injury histories, and just because we've seen Jimmy Butler just have an insane postseason run again for the second time in 5 years, leading his team to the NBA Finals. So yeah, Jimmy Butler is a dog. He's really good offensively and defensively, and his shooting numbers aren't particularly great, but he does step those up when it matters in the postseason. At number 3, we got Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, could average 30 points per game this season easily. I expect him to make All-NBA team easily. He's one of the best players in the league, top 10 players in the league probably. He did really good in the postseason last year too, and I think he'll have a really good season this year as well. At number 2, we do have Kevin Durant over Jason Tatum. Tatum is better defensively, but I think KD is better offensively. And I think Kevin Durant, I don't know. Kevin Durant makes more of an impact offensively because he has more gravity than Jason Tatum. I think you'll be able to see that. I also think with having Devin Booker and Bradley Beal on his team, Kevin Durant is going to have an insanely efficient season because he should have a lot of open looks, kind of like his days in Golden State, because he has 2 other really good ball handlers and really good shooters on his team, so he can get a lot of open looks. Then at number 1, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't really think I got to explain much. He can also average 30 plus points per game, and he's one of the best defenders in the league. So, and having Dame on his team should help him to be able to have a more efficient season. So yeah, that's all I got. If you haven't watched my point guard, shooting guard, small forward video, make sure to do so. After this, make sure to watch my upcoming videos for my center rankings, my bench player rankings, and my top 100 player rankings, as well as my NFL and NBA power rankings that come out weekly. Make sure to support all of those videos.